Dogs make the best companions for humans. This podcast aims to help make humans better companions for their dogs. Welcome to the Baru Podcast, a modern lifestyle podcast for dogs and their people. I'm your host, Charlotte Bain. I've been caring for other people's dogs for more than 15 years. And while I've learned a lot in my career, I definitely don't know it all. So I've collected an ever-evolving roster of amazing dog people. And I learn new things from them all the time. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Baru Podcast. Today, I get to chat with Nicole Ellis. Nicole is a certified professional dog trainer and pet lifestyle expert. She's also the co-author of Working Like a Dog and the expert trainer on Amazon Prime's The Pack. We chat about all the amazing work that she does as a dog trainer, from training her own dogs to work in film and television, in addition to being therapy dogs, to her work on The Pack at the beginning of the pandemic. We also chat about some of the ways training can help improve the bond that you have with your pet. So let's just jump in. Who's that in the background? Is that Maggie
No,
or
Maggie's
Rossi?
wandering around. This is Rossi.
Okay. That's Rossi. Hi,
Maggie,
Rossi.
what are you doing? Can you come over here? She's like, no. Come on.
She's not into
Come on.
it.
Well, usually she's super loud during Zoom, so this is...
She likes to talk or just
Or play
munch
with
on
toys
things
and stuff.
squeak.
Sweet girl.
All the cute
There she
things.
is.
Oh, you're so cute. How old is she?
She's almost 15.
She
Yeah.
is. My guy's almost 15.
Special
I didn't
thing.
realize she was that.
Yeah, she still
that
hikes like 2 miles with us.
mature.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She's a tiny dog. So she's like, what kind of dog is
She's
she?
a Cocker Bichon Poodle. She's
Okay.
from West Valley
Cute.
Animal Shelter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And she's been with you. Has she been with you your
She was
whole
like
15 years?
Probably 6 months old or so.
Okay. Yeah, same with mine.
Oh.
He was like, they said he was a year,
Okay.
but I think he was like,
Yeah.
he was a year.
How big is he?
He's like, well, you can see him.
Oh, there he is.
Right there. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
He's almost 60. He's like 63 pounds.
Oh, yeah. Not bigger than you.
So
Yeah.
anyway, there's so much I want to talk to you about because you do so many awesome different things.
Thank you.
But first I thought we could just jump into your background.
Yeah.
And what led you to be the awesome trainer that you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many different paths to becoming a dog trainer. So,
Yeah.
mine's slightly different, I feel like, but there's no right or wrong path. I always get questions about how to become one, and there's no one direct path to get there for sure. I grew up with animals, loved animals. I didn't have siblings. I had dogs, and
Yeah. They're your siblings.
yeah, exactly. That's who I told all my problems to. And then after I went to university, I had some friends that worked with animals in production, and I grew up acting and modeling, was super interested in that versus what I was going to university for. And
Right.
I ended up going to a program on the side to study exotic animals, behavior, nutrition, zoology, all sorts of fun stuff. And from there, I started working with exotic animals for TV and production work, specifically bears and a little bit of tigers and some other crazy big animals. And
Oh my gosh.
and while I love that, I was like, I just adopted Maggie, my older dog, from a local animal shelter. And I was like, I feel like she could do a lot of this stuff. And the
Yeah.
risk and reward is very different, where she's not going to eat me, for example. And the connection between a dog and a human is very different of the connection between an exotic animal and a human. And while they both have very positive, rewarding connections, I spend all day with my dog. We can cuddle on the couch. We don't have to train if I don't feel well. And that connection is so different. And so I decided to see what I could do with her. And from there, I just kind of deep dived in and started studying dog nutrition, going to lectures, going to conferences, taking classes online, and trying to learn about dog behavior, nutrition, aggression, all the aspects, and see what really interested me. And now Maggie's almost 16, and she's done tons of production work. She knows over 150 behaviors.
Oh my gosh.
Done tons of acting and modeling jobs. And I have a younger dog, Rossi, who's right here.
Hi, Rossi. How old's Rossi?
Rossi just turned 5, right?
Hi.
He's like, yeah.
He's like, what are you talking about me again? Oh, really? I was busy chewing on something.
And I just love helping create that connection between a pet and the pet parent to be able to allow us to do more with our dogs. And I see a lot of people who don't want to take their dogs hiking or on vacation because they do X, Y, Z. And so by incorporating some training, we can better incorporate our pets in our lives. And I absolutely love that. My dogs do everything with me. They both know how to ride my horse. They ride motorcycles with me. We paddleboard. They're very integrated into our lifestyle for my boyfriend and I. And while not everyone needs their dog that integrated, it's nice to be able to bring them on trips with us and take them hiking, and they love it, right? And we love it. And I think by using positive reinforcement training, we can teach the animals new things that hopefully less end up in animal shelters, and we can create that better bond, which in the end is what we all want.
Absolutely. So did you use positive reinforcement when you were working with like the bears? Can we touch on that a little bit? Because I know nothing about that, and that's so fascinating. Were you like, how old were you when you were doing that?
I was in university, so early 20s probably. I don't remember exactly how old I was. Over 15 years ago. But yeah, it was all positive reinforcement. We never did anything harmful or mean. Everything was reward based. The bears worked for marshmallows. The tigers worked for cut up pieces of meat. And training sessions, just like dogs, were kept short and fun and positive. And if they were having a bad day and didn't want to do things, then they didn't need to work. Right. Which I think is how animal training really should be. Often I see people like, I tried to train for an hour and he won't do anything anymore. And my training sessions are like 5 to 10 minutes. So it should be fun. It should leave your pet wanting to do more and you wanting to do more. If you're frustrated, you're not going to want to train your dog.
Right. Absolutely. How does that work with like working on set? Because I know you started working with your own dog on set, right? Do you train other dogs on set as well? Not your own guy? Yeah,
I train a bunch of other dogs, and a bunch of my clients' dogs are studio production trained. So a lot of them have done TV shows and photo shoots and stuff like that. So super fun and rewarding. Your dog has to enjoy that type of work. I don't think it's for every dog. And while we only train for short periods of time, set days can be really long. So you need to have an animal that wants to do a behavior repeatedly. So I have a few dogs who, after you ask them to circle twice, they're like, I already did it.
Yeah.
We're done. And that's not the type of dog.
Where's my treat?
And that's not the type of dog that's going to enjoy production work. And I'm very honest with people about that. There's gossip about other things your dogs probably would enjoy. Maybe that's dog sports. Maybe it's being a therapy dog. Yeah. So finding that right fit for your animal is really important. And then set days are really long days. So every dog I take to set is crate trained, and they know their crate is their safe spot and they sleep in there. So when we are on set, they go in there and they take a nap because we don't know how long we're going to be on set working. We don't go around and socialize and have fun and do tricks because we might be there for 10 hours. And that doesn't mean the dog is working for 10 hours. They're probably sleeping like 8 of those hours, and I'm sitting there like
waiting. People don't realize when you work on set, there's a lot of sitting around and waiting.
It's a lot of sitting and waiting. So they're not tired, and at the end they are mentally exhausted and sleeping, but they're always excited to go back the next day or when we do it again, which is really what it's all about. I know. But you need a dog that loves to work anytime, every time, and repeatedly. We do the same behaviors, multiple behaviors, and they need to be able to be done from a distance, which is not normal dog training. We often are standing right in front of our dog and we say, sit, they sit. But here we have cameras and we have actors and props, and I'm usually 10 to 20 feet away from our dogs. And often we can't speak because no one wants to hear me yelling, lay down. They want to hear the actors talking. So when I say, give them a hand signal, they need to know the behavior off of that hand signal and repeatedly over and over and over. And that includes different sort of behaviors like hitting a mark, looking at something, working away from us and not looking at us while doing the behaviors. I know we're going through so much.
Hello. Right. Hi. She gives lots of sweet kisses.
Like, I'm a liquor. And chaining those behaviors together, lots of watch or go-tos, going with other people and bonding with those people. It doesn't make sense if the animal's looking at me behind the camera when he's supposed to be interacting with someone sitting on the couch. So it's not your everyday training. It's not like the bang bang. Look, my dog can play dead. We don't really use that much. It's more like entering a scene from 20 feet away, staying on a mark and not moving while everyone talks and moves and walks around. Wow. And then when told, do your thing right then and there. It's a different sort of pressure, but it's a lot of fun and the dogs love it.
How long does a take usually last with a dog?
Generally, we try to set expectations. This is an animal, but time is money and everyone's kind of in a hurry. So sometimes we'll bring an extra dog just to be sure, make sure we can get the scenes on time. Yeah. And the shots drastically vary. If it's just sitting on a couch, right, not a problem. If it's some harder behaviors, chaining 5 things together, that might take us a little bit longer to do.
Right. So your dog has to be confident and has to be able to deal with a lot of different stimulus and has to deal with the hot lights, right?
Yes, and a lot of sounds, big equipment moving. It's not a calm place that you see from our end of the TV shows. Yeah.
I remember when my guy was little, people always used to tell me that he was like a quote unquote Disney dog because he had a very unique look and you should get him into TV and movies. And while that would be a great idea, he was such a nervous Nelly, especially around people. It took us 5 years to get his reactivity to strangers under control. And he would get so stressed out. And I was like, you're a star in my eyes, but I don't think this is the right fit for you. We like to hike. You like to be outside. You like to hike. You like to be with other dogs,
Because a big part of it is understanding what's going to be best for your dog. And a nervous dog set up in that environment is so stressful. I practice with my dogs everywhere. I can be on a busy beach, a boardwalk, people biking, and they're still going to pay attention to me and ignore all those distractions. And there could be birds and all sorts of craziness. And that's not a normal thing for everyday life. I had a client's dog, a pit bull that's in an upcoming TV show. And her first day of filming was down in Venice on the boardwalk for an upcoming TV show. And they had roller skaters and runners, and she still had to hit her mark and do her scene. And it's just a reminder that it's not simple as asking for a sit in your living room.
Right. Absolutely. And she did great, I assume.
Yeah, she did amazing.
Are there any shows that we would have seen that some of your dogs are on that you can talk about?
He did a movie called Think Like a Dog when he was a puppy. He was a bright red and he didn't look like this, with Josh Duhamel and Megan Fox.
Cute.
And he played a girl dog.
Oh my God, he's so cute.
named Belle. He was the love interest. I was like, that's okay. You can play a girl.
I think he likes it when you talk about him.
Oh, yeah. He's very social. He's done a ton of photo shoots and a bunch of other fun things.
Yeah. Cute. So how do people who want to get their dogs into that, you just work with you pull in your clients that you train, because you train household, you train regular everyday pets too. And then you see a client that might be a good fit, right, for a project you're working on, or someone calls you. Is that how it works?
Not everyone wants their dogs either to do that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, making sure it's the best fit for everybody is important. But I say anybody can do it. I say training your dog to work in any environment. And first of all, getting your basics on a hand cue from a distance is really important before you try to get onto a movie set. A lot of the big movies actually go through animal acting companies where they own their own dogs and they live with the trainers. And that's going to be the big jobs. You're not going to really get one of those, most likely. I can't say never, but.
Yeah. So those dogs are just trained from the get-go to be star.
And that's
child stars.
Yeah. And each animal rental company has a bunch to live with dog trainers, and that could be German Shepherds and Pit Bulls and a bunch of other breeds. And there's always that off chance that they need a pit bull for a TV show and I need one. So there is extreme cases, but usually not. And they have insurance and they have a lot of things on the line to set them up. And these are dogs that are trained every single day for movie work. So that's going to set that movie up with the best luck. And they're going to have the insurance for the animals and everything else as well that a normal person's simply not going to have. It is a career of training TV dogs. So my friend trained the dog on Frasier and Marley and Me. They're with an animal rental company. So they're just not, it's not a normal house dog. But when you see TV ads for smaller companies or photos online for a dog bed company, sometimes those are normal pet owners and sometimes they're not. If you're looking to get into that, it's making sure your dog's good, as I said, at a distance, but also with tons of distractions, with people moving, and they can still focus on you, do the job, And I say, go out to busy places and try training
Yeah.
with your dog on a leash and see how it goes. And if your dog shuts down, it's probably not the best time for them, or work on it some more. There's lots of things you can do together. And then start looking online. Like, I know a lot of universities have school papers and stuff. They often, if they have a film team, they're looking for a dog for a little short film they're doing. And that's a nice way to like set yourself up for an easy situation where it's less stress, less of a budget, and still a real job, and still get to see your dog in something, which can be a lot of fun. Keeping your eye out on like Facebook posts. I've shared posts before of jobs looking for a dog for like cute campaign of dog beds or blankets or stuff. Craigslist, just you have to be careful. There's always scammers and stuff. So watch out for yourself. But there's definitely small jobs out there, but set yourself up and then you're not as nervous either on set.
So you as the pet parent would be the one doing the training in a situation like that?
Yes,
or you
exactly.
Okay.
And so
it's
then
a great way to bond with your dog too.
Yeah.
Like,
and even if you don't ever get something, it's still fun to train and work on those things.
Absolutely. I know you worked on, prior to the pandemic, you were working on a big show. Yeah. The Pack on Amazon.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We talk about that.
We filmed during the pandemic, so that was super fun and
interesting
experience.
How did that work? Well, you weren't expecting that, I'm assuming. Like, it was all set up to go, and then the pandemic hit.
And then all of a sudden, there was like, oh, we're in crazy places around the world. Yeah. And we're still filming.
And there's a pandemic.
And none of us really knew what that meant at that time. So,
was it the early?
It was the early stages. We landed back in America the day everything shut down. So
Oh gosh. Okay. So wow, that was lucky.
Which was weird to come home to, but it was an amazing experience. We spent about a year pre-planning, coming out with the challenges, working with the challenge team. We being myself and the other dog trainer, Nick Benger, who's in the UK, and just going over like what dogs could do, how will we train it, what can we train in a short amount of time. This isn't everyday training. We're training for weird environments, and like studio work, we're training them to work around noises and cameras and boom mics. And these are not movie dogs. These are family dogs.
For people that don't know what the Pack is, I don't know how they wouldn't, but do you want to briefly discuss? It's kind of like it's kind of like a fun, it's like adventure.
Amazing Race, but the teams are people and their dogs. So traveling to various countries, I believe there's 10 countries went to around the world, and each country they compete. A pet parent and their dog in challenges, and it's all happy. There's no drama going on. It's just a happy show that's family friendly, which was something really big that Amazon and our production team wanted from the start. They didn't want it to be a drama show, because when there's dogs around, it should be fun. It wasn't going to be a show where we are airing people having arguments and stuff like that. It was always going to be lighthearted. This isn't. And during training, we made that really important too. Like, these aren't your competitors right now. These are your friends, and we're having fun and we're training our dogs. And that's really the emphasis of this. So we went through lots of training on conversations on training, locations, where we could travel to, how many plane flights the dogs could do, when they get days off. So there was lots that went into prepping it. And then once we had a cast figured out, it was the cast you see on the show plus a bunch of other people. They all got... Just
in case they didn't work out?
Well, we didn't know who would be the right fit. So it was much larger group. And they did about 6 weeks of online training, myself and Nick. Okay. And then from there, they all flew to Los Angeles. And we did 2 weeks of in-person training for a long time, every day. And they got trained for every single challenge. They didn't know what the challenges would be, but we were teaching them things like doing tricks and scent work and digging and tugging and pulling and weight pulling, and so many crazy adventures, from zip lining to more.
Oh my gosh.
So we could see what dogs were comfortable, and we wanted, and I temperament tested every dog. How's he going to do when somebody charges up behind them? Because we're going to be filming around the world, and we're putting dogs in extreme situations, and we don't want them to be stressed out. We want them to have the time of their life along with their person. And I really do believe we found the cast that supplied that, and they had a lot of fun, and it was a really amazing experience. And it was fun to show people at home, these aren't dog trainers' dogs. These are people's dogs. One of the dogs didn't know how to lay down before it came to us.
Really?
Yeah.
So they weren't like trained dogs at all. So how did you like vet the dog? Like, it was like a casting call, like per any other casting call.
Yeah, it was like a normal casting call about the people and their relationship with the dogs. Yeah. And then from there, like we reviewed them to make sure there was no dog trainers or people that
got it,
compete. And then I know in the scent work world, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Because that's really not a fair advantage to everybody else. I would have loved to compete against everybody, but would not have been nice. And we wanted it to be that because there's so many shows where we watch police dogs and we watch super talented dogs on EGT competing and stuff. But these are people who are hanging out in their living room with their dogs right before this, and now they're on this worldwide adventure. And it was nice to show people that your dog could do. You don't need to fly around the world and go zip lining, but you could do dog sports. You could do agility. Right. You can do so much more, no matter if you have a rescue dog or a 7-year-old dog. It's never too late to learn some things.
What were some of the, can you remember any moments during that really stood out to you that were?
I think some of our big moments were when the dogs were like, we didn't know how they would do, Nick and I. I mean, we trained them the best we could in this short amount of time for a whole lot of different experiences. And so seeing them actually competing and the dogs were succeeding and the dogs were having fun, we could look at each other and we're like, okay, they're doing it. Okay, it's paying off. It's really important to us to see not only the training payoff, but the bond between everybody growing and like the excitement of seeing it all come to life after a year of planning and traveling plans and everything. What other fun things were there? I think just a few of our cast members never left America before. So getting to see them to experience new locations with their dog was really incredible. Because they not only were like seeing their dog experience it, but we got to see them really have their eyes open to new cultures. And that was really a neat thing to see.
What a cool, growing experience. I'm sure there was you guys built a huge community.
Yeah. Right? And it was neat to see every city in the culture. We built dog VIP areas, which was our rest areas that you wouldn't really see on camera. Amazon has something that's called X-Ray that you can see that shows a lot of the behind the scenes. It shows our training. It shows talks about the rest areas and stuff. And that's something Nick and I required is that dogs would have breaks after so much exercise or so much travel. And these were done based on the location. So we bought dog beds that were from local areas. We bought dog toys made by the locals. And they would hang out in these areas and be able to just relax with their dogs. But it was neat to see the dog side of every single kind of culture that we went to and be able to support it a little bit, support animal rescues in the area as well. And when we left, we would donate supplies and money to all the animal rescues.
That's fantastic.
That were nearby us. Yeah.
That's a great way to give back, especially when you're traveling.
Yeah.
So then you guys got back and the whole world had kind of shut down. So that kind of was probably an endorphin rush that went nowhere because you had to be stuck inside.
Yeah, it was a weird experience because a lot of TV shows you become close with the people that you work with. But this was a very special show in that we had a group of dog lovers and it was such a big crew. We had over 100 people working on the TV show and we all traveled together. We had a private plane that we flew on with the dogs. We stayed and we bought out hotels basically. So we saw the same people everywhere we went. So you go down to breakfast and it's the same people, you know everybody. And so it was like that for a few months. And then all of a sudden I come home and not only am I not seeing everybody, but now we're on a lockdown and I don't see anybody. So it was such a culture shock and a bit hard to adjust to. But I think that's where dogs come in and more dogs got adopted during that time. More people started training their dogs. So I think that would be the benefit of everything.
Yeah.
It was
you were able to pivot.
And I think it was also a great time for the show to air, which we did not obviously do on purpose. Right. But people are depressed, and then we had this super lighthearted TV show about having fun, also about traveling, which you could not do at the time. But
you guys are really lucked out in that way.
So that was such a unique experience and a funny time to return home. But it was nice because people were stuck at home, and we could provide something that was different in the reality world of TV. Right. But all the animals getting adopted during COVID, super fun. And then a lot of online training. We offered them free stuff that you could do at home with your dogs. And it brought up new challenges for people of my dog's not used to me being around all day. And now I'm working from home and he's barking and he's busy. Yeah. And it sparked so many new conversations on mental enrichment, which I'm a huge fan of. and like teaching our dogs to actually relax, which he's not, but Maggie is.
Does he have a hard time relaxing, or he just probably?
No, he just knows there's dog treats sitting like right.
He's very food motivated.
Like, oh. He's like, that's what I would like. He's like, excuse me, I'm hungry. She's being an angel. So creating these new things, and I've heard from so many people like that they have this new appreciation of their dog because so many people were bored and lonely and had no one to talk to, and now they have their dog to talk to, which is me every day in my life. Is I talk to my dog. So welcome to my life. But it sparked a whole new interest in like dog sports and training and creating that bond, and I think that's so important. And that goes for not only people living alone, but like people with kids and so many other people out there.
You also do, I think do you train therapy dogs, or you do therapy work? And that's something that I've always been so fascinated. It's such a great way to give back. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've done a lot of therapy work, mostly with Maggie. Rossi's done some as well. And then I've also done work with a few service dog organizations, which is a bit of a different world and often gets confused.
Yes.
So
should we clarify the difference between service dogs and therapy dogs? Yeah.
Yes, I would love that. Therapy dogs are not providing a service for you. They're not task trained, and they're not supported by the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, meaning that therapy dogs cannot go in public places like restaurants and supermarkets, and they don't have public access. They are still a pet.
Right.
What makes them different is they are insured and they go through testing to volunteer at places like hospitals, nursing homes, safe houses, and lots of other places. And that they're providing comfort. They are dogs that love to cuddle up, they love to be pet, they love to be loved on. And just like movie dogs, not every dog's meant to be a therapy dog. Right. So if your dog's nervous of people and lots of hands, probably not the best job or career for your dog, despite your well-being heart of trying to help others. Maggie and I have done a lot of therapy work. I've actually flown all over a lot of the U.S. volunteering. We flew to Vanderbilt in Nashville. We've done cancer centers in Vegas. We used to volunteer every year with the Dream Street Foundation, which is a camp for kids with terminally ill diseases. Rossi just volunteered at City of Hope for the doctors who are going through a hard time. And I think even if you have a dog that's a therapy dog, it's interesting to see what your dog kind of gravitates to. Some dogs do better with children. Mm-hmm. Some dogs do better at nursing homes. And I think it's one of the most rewarding things you can do if you have a dog that enjoys this. And it is a time commitment. A lot of therapy organizations out there actually have a requirement of so many visits per month, which can make it hard for some people. It's not something you can just go do once a month and show up. A lot of them want you to commit to it. So they have a group of dogs and people who understand the rules and are committed to following them. And you don't get paid for it. And it's cost me money of blood tests and a bunch of stuff I have to do because we're going to these facilities.
Oh, right. So you have to be in tip top shape. Yeah.
You're dealing with people who could be like terminally ill. So we need to make sure that we're nice and safe to be able to provide a service for them. And you can't have a dog that's obviously jumping on people, and that's part of the testing process. Because
are there specific? Is it like a canine good citizen type of a test, or is it like what is required in the testing?
Each organization's a bit different. Okay. I'd say it's a step up from Canine Good Citizen. I tell people if you want to do therapy dog, CGC, which is Canine Good Citizen through AKC, is a great stepping stone.
Okay.
Beyond that, a lot of the testing we did involve having a solid leave it. So sometimes we'll have to walk by like a plate of food on the floor and you say leave it, your dog can't go to that. Reason being, there could be medication on the ground. There could be other dangerous things, sharps, needles. Yeah. And we need to make sure our dogs can leave those objects.
Right.
Another one is I've had multiple tests where they've had people run up, sometimes in costumes, sometimes with capes. And that can be scary. And if your dog jumps or something and is startled, that's usually fine. But they don't want a fear aggression response.
Right.
So your dog can't lunge out and try to bite or nip. And that's just dogs. Sometimes they're nervous and that's their reaction. Yeah. But I've had tons of experiences where kids run up or doctors are running by.
Right.
And we can't have a dog that's going to make their jobs more dangerous or put anybody at harm. So you need the right, calm, temperamented dog who loves to be pet. And you might have a calm dog who's just like, I'm over being pet, then that's not going to be a fit for you, but super rewarding. We've had visits at nursing homes, where they've told us somebody hasn't really spoke before or in a while. And then we're there and they start telling us about their dog. So I think animals can do so much good, especially for people who are in pain. They often forget about their pain for a little bit when they're petting their dog or talking to the dog there. We also did some visits at a safe house for women and their children that were escaping tough situations. And there was a lot of children there who never even pet a dog. They'd never been kissed by a dog. And we were involved in that therapy process where I went to the therapy sessions once a week for like 6 months. And we would discuss like, okay, when Maggie's upset and doesn't want something, she might growl or show her teeth.
Got it.
She's not going to go and bite or attack somebody, so you can't just go punch somebody. Right. So what can you guys do to express your upset?
Right.
And we would involve the dog in their therapy. And then if they would share, they would get to like pet her or do a high five with her. And it's a little bit different therapy, but the kids feel better opening up about that.
Yeah.
My friend Tom Tackett runs a program for reading dogs. And there's great studies where the kids read to dogs and their development of reading greatly increases. I don't remember the percentage, but because they don't feel they're being judged.
Yep.
Because it's not a person that they're reading to, it's a dog, and they feel more comfortable. And I think that's just such an interesting thing and a way to help. So my friend and I have a book called Working Like a Dog. That's a coffee table book of dogs with jobs, just to educate people on the amazing things dogs can do. And also how important it is not to interrupt a service dog when you're out, because it might be a cardiac alert dog. It could be detecting peanuts that save someone's life. And we have some of Tom Tackett's reading dogs in there that we actually went to the schools and saw the kids like laying on the floor, laying against dogs reading as the cutest thing, but it's also making a massive difference for the children.
Absolutely. What were when you were working on that book, did you discover some unusual jobs that you weren't aware of? Or any super unique
Some
jobs?
of my favorite ones, we did cancer detecting dogs, which now I think it's a little bit more known than when we did the book. Yeah. Because now there's like COVID detection and things like that. But they detect the cancer with like 99.8% accuracy, often before machines and other equipment can detect it. And they're detecting it by breath. So I think people are a bit like fooled on like not believing how much a dog can do. Yeah. And that's pretty remarkable. I work with a company that trains dogs for children with autism and Down syndrome. That's amazing. This is their shirt. You can't read it, but and seeing the difference it makes for these kids who can like gain a little bit more independence or learning to see things because they have a dog is really, when doing deep pressure and things to calm them down, is really amazing. And the different things these dogs can do.
What is deep pressure?
Deep pressure is the dog lays across like their chest.
Oh, so it's like a blanket, like a heavy blanket.
Like a heavy blanket, yeah. But then they could pet the fur and stuff, and often it calms them down when they're having an episode of stress or panic. And then the dogs often have a behavior where they can put their chin on the child's lap so they can pet the ears and pet the head and calm down. Especially for kids like that might be like going to the dentist is really scary. They can have their dog there to help them and give them something to focus on. And the dog performs those tasks for that child. We did a lot of work with the search and rescue in the sheriff's department, which my own dogs do scent work, and I just think it's fascinating. So these dogs are trailing dogs or tracking dogs who often are tracking like a missing person, right? Or finding somebody who's passed away. And those are different jobs by dogs. We did some that are trained in article detection, which means they're trained to find like weapons and guns and those kind of objects. Drugs, obviously. Yeah. There's so many amazing ones. We did one that was latex detection, and the lady couldn't leave her house without her dog. The dog was able to detect latex from like a block away.
Because she was allergic to it, or?
Life-threatening allergy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like doctor's offices, super dangerous with all the gloves and everything. Yeah. And it just gave her life back. Wow. And I think that's so, to be confined to your house and then be given something like this that gives you independence again is so remarkable. And like, obviously there's peanut detection and gluten detection, so many different amazing jobs out there. We did one dog, Sage, who passed away. She found the body of the terrorist that flew the plane into the Pentagon on 9/11. Wow. And she did a lot of 9/11 work, and she looked for the body of Natalie Holloway in Aruba, and so much incredible national disasters. And these people are doing it out of like a drive to give their dog something to do that their dog loves.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. The National Search Dog Foundation, we did work with, they're in California, and they rescue most of their search dogs, and they go on to police departments, fire departments. And those are often the dogs that nobody wants because they're too high drivey. It's a dog that's eating the walls, that doesn't make the best pet dog. But you give this dog a job like this, where he's running up ladders and doing crazy stuff, and he's totally at home and perfect. So it's nice to see that harmony between the companies kind of match up and help the dogs find something that works for them.
Absolutely. Oh, the healing power of dogs. It's pretty fantastic. I want to know a little bit more about scent work. It's a great mental enrichment game just for your average everyday pet as well. But so what does that entail, and how does that move into training dogs to do?
Absolutely. So they can be trained on anything. In competition, dogs are generally doing birch, anise, and clove. And then there's something called handler detection, where they're finding something with our odor, which could be a cotton ball or a glove. Generally, you start off training birch, which is just like a Q-tip with some birch oil on it that you can buy online from scent work companies.
Okay.
And start by like pairing it with food, and then over time teaching our dogs to search, and then searching higher and higher, so they learn to like sniff elsewhere, moving up and down. It really uses their noses. We spent a long time on the show working on scent work every single day. It's not an immediate thing to teach, but it's super fun because you can catch that moment when your dog catches the odor, and then they follow the odor and triangulates it and gets right to that specific spot and finds it and gives you their alert. I love doing it with my dogs. I did it with Maggie at first, and she wasn't the best.
Really?
Her little heart. She's very trick trained, so she couldn't understand that I needed her to like sniff. So she would like see boxes, and one box had a scent, and she was like, "Oh, great, we're doing tricks." So she was like standing on the boxes and spinning.
Yeah.
He was like talking buttons, and he's pushing his buttons.
Did you get the talking buttons?
Yeah, he has a whole pile.
I had Alexis Devine on here from What About Bunny? Do you know her?
Yeah.
That was such a fun conversation. Yeah.
Oh, we love her. If we were going to do season 2 of The Pack, she was like in the running for it.
Really? Oh my gosh.
So we love them. And then from there you can teach so many things. So Maggie was doing tricks, and everyone else in the class thought it was hilarious. And I was like totally embarrassed and mortified, because I was like, I thought she would be amazing at this, because it's Maggie, and Maggie loves learning. And I was like, we're going to be amazing. And then like I went to like competitions, and we like didn't get any. And I was like, oh my God, we're really bad at this. And then we finally connected, and she finally understood the job, and she ended up liking it. But handler detection, finding my smell, she did much better at. So good job, Maggie.
Yay.
And this was years ago. And I actually went hiking with my friend Jamie in Joshua Tree, and I lost my phone. I lost it about a mile in. And I went back the next day, and Maggie found my phone in the desert, which I say is fully thanks to her scent work training.
Yeah.
So she went in and she stood on it and alerted where it was. So,
oh my gosh.
Good job, puppy.
Good job, Maggie.
Yeah. She still loves scent work. And right now we're having a crazy heat wave in California. And that's what I've been doing with my dogs to tire them out.
And you're doing it like in the house? Like how, I mean, it's been so hot here. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing lots of scent work inside in different rooms. And I think it's one of the best ways to provide mental stimulation. Dogs love to sniff. So we're giving them a job doing their favorite thing. And I don't know who wouldn't want to do a job doing their favorite thing. So when it's scent work time, they're so excited. And there's lots of scent work classes you can do online. There's ones you can go to in person. I think going in person has the advantage of watching other dogs, and you can see how dogs' movements change, or how they differently change their body when they get close to the odor. And being able to watch other people can help you learn and see mistakes maybe you're making as well. So they definitely both have a benefit. And even if you're not looking to go into competition, it's still a really fun thing to do with your dogs. I have a few clients that are doing it now, and I think it creates a better bond. You can learn more about your dog and how they communicate. And being in a competition for scent work is interesting because you don't know where it is, versus when I hide it in my living room, I know where it is.
Oh, so you as the owner don't know where it is either. No, somebody puts it. Oh, I see. Yeah.
So you go into the room and they're like, ready, set, go. And then I tell my dog to search, and I call it, and then they're like, no, or yes, you got it. So it's a nice way to really, tables are turned, and I'm trusting my dog. And is he really telling me it's here? Did he alert to it? Maggie gives like the most subtle alert where she looks up for 2 seconds. And I'm like, is that it? Versus him, he like sits and he's like, it's here.
It's like, does a little dance. Yeah.
So it's a nice way to read your dog's own body and how they communicate and get to know them a little bit better.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think the most we've done with that, other than just, when we go hiking off leash and he gets to like smell around, or it did back in the day.
Good old sniffari. Yeah.
Yeah, good old sniffari. I mean, is like getting our snuffle mats,
Oh, yes.
So that's a good place to kind of start, I guess. It's not quite the same, but it is getting there.
It's getting them to sniff. And I love snuffle pads. I start all my puppies on them.
Yeah.
My own dogs use them still. And it's super fun. Dogs love to forage. So what a fun time for them. And letting them use their noses like that. And I don't know any dogs that don't love a snuffle mat. So
yeah, totally. I've not yet to meet one as well. I wanted to touch briefly on, I know you do, so you do positive reinforcement and you're a part of the fear-free movement, right?
Yes.
Can we talk about that? Because I don't think your average pet owner may have an idea of what that means and what that is and why it's important. Yeah.
So Fear-Free was started by America's favorite vet, Marty Becker, and now does a lot of work with his daughter. And I'm a huge fan of Fear-Free. Yeah. And Fear-Free encompasses a lot in the pet world. There's Fear-Free dog trainers, there's Fear-Free dog groomers. My favorite is the Fear-Free veterinarians. No offense to the rest of us that are Fear-Free. And they're saying it's taking the pet out of petrified, and it's making a better experience out of going to the vet, or in this case, going to grooming or dog training.
Right.
And they've done a lot of studies on like how stress affects our animals. I know I'm not a very good stressful person, and I'm sure it's
neither am I.
Similar to my pet. And it just doesn't help recovery. It doesn't help our pets going to the vet. And it also doesn't help the exam. It is a lot harder for a vet to help your animal when your pet is stressed, which is one reason I crate train. So if my dog does have to go in a crate, they're going to be a little less stressed.
Right. Preparing for those moments. Yeah.
They're kind of these veterinarians go through extra training. So they, for one, don't wear white lab coats because white lab coats can be stressful. It's not a color that's calming and relaxing. They'll often wear pale blue or pale pink or a pastel color. Right. And that's the same with the walls. You won't have fluorescent lighting. Dogs have really sensitive ears and they can hear that buzzing. And that's just causing more stress. They often will have pheromones out. I have a client whose dog just got spayed at a Fear-Free clinic. And as soon as the dog got there, they put a bandana on her dog. She's like, oh, that's cute. And they're like, oh, it has pheromones. It'll help calm her down as soon as she got there before she even went in the back. And I think it's such a different experience. My dogs love going to the vet. Yeah. Because when we go to the vet, it's like a treat party. And that's how it is at Fear-Free. Fear-Free vet records have a special area to write down your dog's favorite treat. So they might write down, this dog loves peanut butter. So when you come, they can have columns ready with peanut butter. They have a huge budget allocated to dog treats and toys. And they spend a lot of time getting to know your dog at that first visit versus like, now we're just going to poke your dog. And out you go. So Rossi's gone to a Fear-Free dentist. And she spent the first like 20 minutes on the floor giving him treats and cuddling him. Wow. And he loves going. And it's such a different experience. And when people see my dogs with a vet, they're like, your dog loves going to the vet. I'm like, yeah, because he gets loved on. He gets cookies. Yeah. He's never just given a jab by a needle. They're giving him treats. They're giving him licky things. And they're like calmly relaxing, soothing him.
Right.
They don't put dogs on metal tables. There is like usually like rubber matting, a yoga mat, or some sort of surface there. And these are all things that like the dog is slipping and it makes them uncomfortable and it makes them nervous. And that's inducing fear. So it's trying to take the fear out of these situations. And from a training standpoint, I train a lot of my clients to like teach something like a chin rest. So we can examine ears, we can examine teeth without it being the first time that it's done. So when we go to the vet, him getting his skin pulled up for a needle, I do this all the time to him. He does not care. He's like, that's nice. So we want to set them up for success that nothing's going to be scary there. It shouldn't be the first time that they've had their nails touched. Right. He's like, yeah, whatever. Because I touch his all the time. So it's a different education and understanding of pet stress signals, of how we can keep them calmer. A lot of their like cages or crates have like, it's clear plastic with like, maybe like something on the bottom so they can't see through. They're not causing stress as much as they're laying down and recovering. Yeah. And it's such a different experience. My client's dog who just went to the facility, out here was sent home in a soft cone where you wasn't
Right.
sent home in a hard plastic cone. And it was
Right.
such a nice experience. She got photos, which is not really fear-free, but it's more fear-free for the pet parent who's nervous about their dog. She got photos as soon as she woke up, like she's doing great. Here's pictures of her. And that, to me, goes so far. It's a different compassion towards
Right.
not just us, but our animals, which is why we're going to the vet in the first place.
Right.
So I tell everyone, try to find a fear-free vet. It's well worth it. It's worth the extra time you're going to spend there. Any extra money, which this one's not more money. So might as well do the best for your dog. And it's an amazing organization.
Yeah, it's so great. And you can find a fear-free pet because they usually have like a sticker either on their website or even like at the
you can go to like, I think it's fearfreepets.com maybe.
Okay.
And they have a search for like groomers, dog trainers, and veterinarians as well on their site.
Yeah. I mean, we don't like going, I don't know anyone who loves going to the doctor. I mean, maybe my grandma. My grandma loved to go to the doctor.
Yeah, and I feel like what we know about animals is so evolving all the time. In the last 10 years, we've made great leaps and bounds.
Mm-hmm.
So we're learning more about what stresses them out, sound, sight, smells. So let's use that to make those stressful situations not stressful.
Absolutely.
And I know people who go to these vets now and they're like, oh my God, my dog hated the vet. Now she loves going. And I'm like, that's so nice to hear because it's just going to be a better experience. And if your dog gets sick, God forbid, it's just going to be easier to treat them.
Absolutely. So it becomes easier for the pet. It becomes easier for the veterinarian because if your pet's not freaking out, it's easier for them to do their job as well. And
absolutely.
It's a
win-win.
It's a win-win.
Well, and fantastic organization.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Great question though, because not a lot of people know about it. So I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of it too. Yeah. And so, but I just don't, your average pet owner is I'm not thinking about that stuff. So that's.
No. And people, I often get it confused with like, oh, fear-free. You've worked with exotic animals. And I'm like, that's nothing to do with it.
I don't even know what that is.
That's like, no, fear-free. It's just, we're trying to make it a better experience from whether it's, we don't just force a dog into a harness. We teach our dogs to step into it and consent to things. And that's going to make everything easier.
Absolutely. Is there one particular thing that you think all dogs should learn? Like, what's the most important thing that they should learn?
A solid recall.
Yeah.
Being able to call our dogs in any situation, yes, is so important. And I heavily reward it. And no, that doesn't mean you need treats on you every second, but I throw my dog a party every single time he comes. He's never yelled at for coming back, even if he's smelling something nasty and I'm really upset. And I don't want him to question coming back to me the next time. So, and I mean, many people don't let their dogs off leash for hiking, etc. Mistakes happen. Dogs slip out of collars. You still need to work on your recall. It's still so important. And that could be useful when he's barking because someone's at the door. I can recall my dogs to me. They're going to stop barking because they know they're going to get so much attention, so many cookies. And a situation like that, he's probably going to get the higher end cookies because he came to me when there's something more exciting outside. So I'd say a recall and a nice solid stay is really, really nice, easy things. I have free videos on my website. There's lots of great training resources out there. So you don't need to go spend a bunch of money. This is something you can work on in your living room for sure.
Do you want to give a shout out to your website?
Sure. My website is Maggie, Maggie, and Nicole, Nicole. And we have lots of fun, free training from mental enrichments to doing tricks to simple basics like a sit and a down and a high five and other things to do.
Well, I so appreciate you chatting with me.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. We'll have to do it again.
Hi, you waving? Oh my God, so cute. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Baru Podcast. If you have a behavior question or a health question or a story of canine companionship you want to share with us, you can email me, charlotte@thebaru.com, or you can call 424-273-5131 and leave us a message. And if you don't have a pen handy, not to worry, you can find the contact info in the show notes. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to rate and follow the Baru Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram @BaruPet. All right, you guys, let's chat next week.